Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to the declaration ceremony of Pallikudam National Awards for Startups in Education 2020 in association with Kerala Startup Mission and sponsored by South Indian Bank Limited. Today is September 5, a day dedicated to teachers in memory of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, second President of India, who was a great teacher, philosopher, and statesman. The end product of education should be a free, creative man who can battle against historical circumstances and adversities of nature. I am Nicey Matthew on behalf of Rajagiri Media. We are glad to organize the award function to honor startups that have done outstanding service to the education sector. Every big brand or business that we see today started in a small way, in a one-room office or even in a garage. But it is the idea and vision of the founders that help small companies to grow rapidly and enter the Hall of Fame. We have a large gathering of people from across the country, representing various startup companies and representatives of the edu-service sector who hold tremendous potential for India. This is the second National Award in Education instituted by Rajagiri Media this year. The first one, named Pallikudam National Awards for Innovation in Education 2020, was declared on 15th August. I am glad to inform you that there is an impressive lineup of experts to address you in the coming hour. To begin the proceedings, I request Professor Verghese Pandalukaran CMI, Director of Rajagiri Media, to give the introductory remark on the activities of Rajagiri Media and the motivation and objectives behind this national award. Professor Verghese Pandalukaran is also the author of the book Contempt to be Creative, describing different methods of generating creative options, something startups may usually want. Over to Professor Verghese Pandalukaran.
Thank you. Dear edupreneurs and leaders of education startups, greetings of Teachers' Day from Rajagiri Media, Kochi. Today will be marked as a special day in the history of education in India, not just as another Teachers' Day, but as a day of celebration of startups in education technology, who develop tools and solutions to enhance and to complement the role of teachers across the country. We are a gathering of 89 startups in education technology from across 14 states in India, who have developed viable solutions to support and the conduct of education in the country in the trying times of education lockdowns. All these startups are recognized by the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, under the Startup India initiative, the Government of India. This meeting is also closely watched by the people from the industry related to education technology, as well as by those from the national and state level frameworks and ecosystems for startups in the country. Leaders of some handpicked edutech industries will also be sharing their views and experiences on different aspects of startups in education technology in the course of this meeting. Dear friends, as we are all aware, the conduct of education in the country and all over the world is on the verge of a radical paradigm shift. The COVID-19 induced lockdowns, in fact, exposed an inherent vulnerability of the offline conduct of education. The insufficiencies of teaching community are being exposed in the public domain. It was a painful experience for many institutions who were caught unaware and unprepared for this transition. They were compelled to improvise tailor-made solutions in collaboration with ICT industries. Many in the field of education today are convinced that the future of education is going to be written in a blended script, a healthy combination of online and offline aspects of it. The new National Education Policy 2020 also proposes a blended learning for the country. All these constitute a fertile ground for startups to sprout and grow. As the director of Rajagiri Media, it is my privilege to tell you about the products and services Rajagiri Media offers for the benefit of service providers in education, the edupreneurs, and edu startups. For last 8 years, Rajagiri Media publishes Pallikudam, the Education Observer, a monthly for different stakeholders of education. We have also developed an education portal, www.pallikudam.com, which is a one-point destination for all stakeholders of education. They offer ample options for the education service providers, edupreneurs, and edu startups to profile and to showcase themselves. The portal is designed as a park and ride facility where education businesses shall showcase their products and services for the benefit of every other stakeholder of education, including parents, teachers, students, education institutions, policymakers, etc. We also publish 6 online weeklies under the brand name Smart Boards for different stakeholders of education. Smart Edu Services is one of the smart boards which is precisely meant to update education service providers with research-based insights. Here again, the education service providers could showcase their products and services. Pallikudam Online School provides daily exciting home learning activities for school children free of cost. Large number of students from across the country are beneficiaries of this program. Rajagiri Media also hosts monthly online policy discussions at Rajagiri Roundtable International, synergizing the concepts of all stakeholders of education into policy recommendations. The Roundtable has already completed 62 sessions. You are welcome to participate in these monthly deliberations and to contribute to the policy making in the education sector. A short profile of Rajagiri Media will be presented at a later stage during this award ceremony. Finally, a word about the award. The Pallikudam National Awards for Startups in Education 2020 was a fruit of synergy between Rajagiri Media and Kerala Startup Mission. Ideation of this award occurred during a discussion with Dr. Saji Gopinath, the CEO of Kerala Startup Mission. The task of implementing the concept was delegated to Mr. Nasif, the assistant manager by Mr. Ashok Kurian, the manager at the Kerala Startup Mission. Let me register a word of praise for the seamless workflow of Kerala Startup Mission, which has brought this award project to its exciting finish today. I take this opportunity to especially mention the selfless services of Mr. Nasif, who made it happen with his sheer hard work. Search for sponsors of this national award ended up with the South Indian Bank Limited, which cherishes a history of winning awards in technological innovations in the banking sector. In 2020 itself, the SIB has won 6 out of 8 prestigious banking technology awards instituted by the Indian Banks Association. SIB was the winner of the Best Technology Bank of the year 2020, with the best use of data and analytics for business outcome, Best IT Risk Management and cybersecurity initiatives. SIB was also runner-up for its best payment initiative, most customer-centric bank using technology, and best chief information officer, who will be felicitating the winners of the award today later on. South Indian Bank was also awarded best MSME bank among the private sector banks by the Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India, ASSOCHAM, showcasing itself as a celebrated banking partner for startups, the future MSMEs in the country. I thankfully acknowledge the contributions of Mr. Raphael TJ, the Chief General Manager and Chief Information Officer of SIB, towards the development of the concept of the Pallikoda National Award for Startups in Education 2020 during our intense personal discussions over the topic. I also thank the top leadership and management of SIB, especially the MD, Mr. VG Matthew, who graciously agreed to sponsor this award based on their CSR funds. My dear friends, today we celebrate the birth anniversary of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, the second President of the Republic of India, as Teachers' Day. Dr. Radhakrishnan used to insist that teachers should be the best minds in the country. Today, as we develop technological assistance, enhancements, and to a certain extent even replacements for teachers, resorting to education technology, let's make sure that our products and services are the best in the whole world. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Professor Verghese Pandalukaran, for the introductory remarks. And we are glad to learn about the several creative interventions made by Pallikodam in education over the years, and especially after the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. Next, we have a talk by Dr. Saji Gopinath, head of Kerala Startup Mission. Dr. Saji Gopinath is a multifaceted personality, having donned several roles as management faculty, institutional leader, mentor, trainer, researcher, and also successful in conceiving large social development projects for startups. Under his leadership, Kerala became the top performing startup state in India. I welcome Dr. Saji Gopinath to deliver a talk on the topic, Chromosome of a Successful Educational Startup.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Professor Verghese Pandalukaran, the brain, the action behind this great event and the Pallikodam Educational Awards. My good friends, Mr. Ravindra Kamath, Mr. Altin Mohan, Mr. Rahul Saur, I think Mrs. Asta Grover from Invest India also will be joining us, and Mr. Raphael TJ from South Indian Bank, and the various edutech entrepreneurs and teachers and faculty members who are attending this function. At the outset, it's a great moment for all of us on the Teachers' Day. I think whenever we speak about Teachers' Day, and I spent most of my career as a teacher, it's a proud privilege to be associated with this Pallikodam National Award, which is basically honoring the startups who are taking the education to the next stage of growth and development. I remember when Dr. Abdul Kalam was being asked by one of the reporters at some point of time, what do you want to be remembered as? Do you want to be remembered as the missile man of India, the person who has developed a lot of contribution to the space technology, or as a scientist, or as one of the best presidents of the country? His answer was that I wanted to be remembered as a teacher. And I think that is actually a great acknowledgement to the teacher community. So my best wishes to all the teachers and the new generation teachers who are actually supporting the education field by using the technology. Before I go into the specific topic of looking at what are the chromosomes of a successful educational startup, let me just congratulate all of you who have been participating in this award, in this contest, and also develop very interesting solutions which is actually transforming this education sector. Now, I'm sure most of you are technology experts, but you have actually entered into a field which is having a lot of immense potential. There are a few reasons for that. I used to speak when I used to conduct training program for the teachers that can you remember names of some top organizations which are, let's say, 50 years old? So I'm sure that our minds will come out, Amazon or Flipkart or General Motors or things like that. Think about organizations which are 100 years old. Now, I'm sure that that set narrows down, and you may have few, which may be IBM or few of them. Think about something which is more than 500 years old, which is still being in the popular. And you will see that the only thing which is remaining 500 years old is only universities. You don't have any other business organizations with all their profitability, all their might, all their trade ability. We don't have 500 or 1,000-year-old organizations which are still existing other than the education. You remember about Oxford or you remember about Cambridge, which are there for years, and they continue to be there. So that is the power of this education sector, that it actually have a very, very long-lasting endurance into the system as such. But having said that, there is also another side to this, which is also very important in our context. I'm sure that most of you may be knowing, especially the education technologists may be knowing Dr. Anand Agarwal, the person who has actually revolutionized to some extent the MOOC movement in the world through the edX platform, the professor at MIT who has actually developed this edX platform, which actually created a large number of courses. So Dr. Anand Agarwal used to speak about a very interesting story. He used to say that, look at a class of 1960s in one of the top institutions in the world. And you can see in the classroom, people are, it will be a black and white classroom, obviously. And I'm speaking about 1960s and 70s. And you can see that the teacher will be writing on the board or maybe using an OHP projector, and a few people may be sitting in the front who are very studious, and they will be looking at very keenly watching it. And at the back of the class, either people may be sleeping or people may be reading books. This is a story of 1960s or 1970 classroom. Now come back to 2013. That is what the moment we spoke about this example. The same class, same college, same institutions take the class. It will be a very colorful class. Now you have projectors, you have very nice screens. The teacher will be using computers. Again, when you go, you can see the front row people will be again very studious sitting. In the back end, instead of books, they may be looking at their iPads or they may be looking at their mobiles and doing something else. So the point which Dr. Agarwal used to communicate is that while disruption has happened in many other fields of business, one field which has not been disrupted was education till recently. And we still believe on a specific set of closed courses and specific sets of education models where people may actually be being taught rather than an emphasis on learning. But in the last few years, this has completely changed. We have seen, and the new education policy, which Professor Verghese has rightly pointed out, actually looks at one of the very key elements of it, along with our conventional philosophy of equity and access, which is very important for India. We also speak about giving flexibility and learner-centeredness, where you are actually moving from a taught model to a learned model. And in this model, where I think all this educational technology which you provide are actually going to be very, very relevant. Suddenly you see that, in fact, going back to Professor Anand Agarwal's speech, he used to say that in his professorial role, he must have taught around 1,000 students without using technology. But one time when he used the technology, the very first time he used the technology, he had close to around 21,000 students. So you can see the type of scale in which you are suddenly making it available to the world as such. This is a disruption which we are waiting for. And while we know that COVID has brought in a lot of problems for most of us, to me, for education startups and education technologies, this is actually the perfect storm which was waiting to happen. And how well we actually going to use this perfect storm is basically where we are going to ride the next wave of growth asset. And I think that is basically the context in which we need to actually look at the education startups. And I'm sure that many of us have come out with very interesting solutions, etc. But let me put a perspective on the education startup, and then I come back to the specific challenges which education startups will face. And I'm sure my very good friend, Mr. Kamath, who will be speaking about after this, who is actually he's a developer, he has got a product, and he's also a person who's investing in companies. So he is the right person to tell you about the real challenges of it. But let me also put some perspectives on that. But before that, let me just put a point here that why this disruption is required and what is the need of this disruption, etc. Now, if you look at the history of education, substantially in the world, and before the last century, education was primarily focusing on teacher and a very, very small group of students who the teacher will actually align and help. In other words, the education was what we call as a wholesome education. So in other words, I may be a professor in English, but if you are going to come or I am a professor of, let's say, physics, but if you are going to give me an answer paper where there is an English mistake is there, I am going to correct that also. Not like the siloed approach which we have currently in the current education as such. Now we call in India what we call as the Gurukula type of education, right? In the Gurukula type of education, it is important that the teacher knows the learning pace of each student. And I used to joke that if we had adopted the school system, we never had a Bhima or Arjuna, because Bhima will be asked to do archery and Arjuna will be asked to do the Gada, and both of them will fail in their exams and they will have been out by now. The Drona knew that this person's way of learning is this, and he actually fine-tuned on that. This is what today we call as a precision education. Now comes the last century. In the last century was a century of mass productions. The whole philosophy was of mass production. The Ford brought it, the Fordian philosophy of bringing a large amount of products at a lower cost. It actually came out into the education also. So from a very, very small schools, we started moving into very large schools. The model of specialization came and people started looking everything into silos per se. This continued for a long period, and you don't have a model where I cannot have an economy of scale. At the same time, I need to have a precision education. This model was not there. This is basically where the technology comes into picture. This new education, right, through the technology, what is we are achieved, and that is precisely what good MOOC courses are achieving, good technology product is achieving, is that it actually maps each learner's learning paradigms, learning curve, and actually allow and enable the teachers to actually form their teaching strategies based on that. Earlier, it was not possible because if I'm going to a class of 60, it's very difficult for me in a limited period of time to catch all this data, because at the end I may not be able to concentrate all of them and create it. And we know, most of the teachers know that we actually many times try to go into the average, and you get both +3 sigma and -3 sigma students getting demotivated in either way. Now, this is basically where the technology comes into picture. So the point which I was trying to emphasize is that it is not that we are automating a normal classroom. Unfortunately, it is happening in many cases, but it is, if you automate a mess, you will get only a faster mess. So why we were doing in a normal classroom in this model is because we have challenges to do that. We cannot really go into each student's learning path, except in small classrooms. But technology allows you that, right? We know that even in the retail space and other things, the data can be analyzed and do it. Such customized learning paradigms, when you brought into the technological domain, you actually make the richness of the education. So the flexibility and richness of education, which becomes the meaning of the education, is something which the right startups brings into the picture as such. I'm sure many of your products may be having that capability, but if not, please use the technology's capabilities to do that. I used to use a very simple tool like Moodle, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, a learning management system. It's something which you can actually communicate with the students. But more than that, it actually can map the student. how much time a student has actually spent on a particular topic, how much time a student has actually looked at a particular area, which actually as a teacher will give an insight to see that, okay, this is an area where this student is weak at. And accordingly, we can create the teaching strategies, etc. The efficiency and the effectiveness is brought together into the educational technology really. And those products which has brought in that, they are the ones which are actually growing into the big stage as such. So that is, I think, the key crux of the key element of the new technology-based solutions per se. But we know that that is not enough. Any such solutions require supporting ecosystem, supporting enabling supporting mechanisms per se. The Pallikudam award is, for example, is primarily looking at that. How do we actually look at? In fact, when Professor Varghese talked to me first time, I was so excited about his idea because he was saying that a large number of people have actually now brought education to the places where it was not reachable earlier. A quality education, and we need to actually recognize and support them. And to the noble idea, and again, I thank Professor Varghese and taking this initiative. Now, important thing is to go into the next stage, you require a scalability. And any startup succeeds when it has a scalable model. The technology brought in the efficiency, the effectiveness, and it also brought in the scalability. Because we actually be able to ensure that the content which is getting generated can actually be scaled up in some manner or other if the technology is proper, provided you have designed in that manner as such. Please note, India still have only around 25% of its people in the higher education. Even if we speak about a large GER in the school education, we know that dropouts is very large. We also know that if some of you are in education must be following Pratham studies. We know that even around 40% of the students in standard 5 or standard 8 cannot really follow what is happening in even standard 2. Now these are all problems, but these are all opportunities. So what I mean to say is that we are actually looking at a large, huge market. We had great dreams. It was there in 2009, we thought about it. When the Honorable Prime Minister took over, he also reiterated it, where we wanted to make sure that at least half of our people, that's 500 million people, to be skill enabled. But today we end up in less than 5 million people or 15 million people. So you have a huge gap in all these things. This is the scalability which is available for us, provided we have a great solution. Now, earlier we had an issue. The issue is that many of the edutech startups, investors will look at only if the investor has got a very long horizon. Because generally we believe that edutech startups takes around 6 to 7 years to break even. Because how do you actually ensure that this solution will be known to people? Because there was no need, because colleges and schools were there and people were not aware of this. Now that is basically why I said this is a great opportunity for you. Because of COVID, again the world is gone from the mass to small. And because of COVID, people actually start looking at solutions. The governments are actually promoting, governments are actually giving infrastructure, governments are creating infrastructure. Everything is actually the right ambience for us. We have infrastructure, we have a government interest, we have colleges and schools who are willing to take it up. And now if you have a good solution, I'm sure the investors will also be interested to look at it. So you have, in essence, we require a few things. We are actually getting into a sector which was earlier not disrupted. So when it is getting disrupted, look at a new learning paradigm and create your product accordingly. Don't underestimate the value of the existing teachers. At the end, the world has moved leaps and frogs over the years, right? Whatever it was in 50 years back and what if you look at today, the amount of inventions which has happened in the last 50 years is more than the inventions which has happened all those years before that. That's all contribution of teachers, because these people are being educated by some teachers somewhere. So use that knowledge, use the technology power, come out with very interesting products, and then the ecosystem is actually getting developed to support that. I'm sure that most of you, all the 89 of you who have participated this will actually see to become unicorns and multiple unicorns in the days to come, because We know that how Byju's have grown into a very, very large organization in a very short period of time. And Arjun, who's joining us from Upgrad, was earlier with Byju's. So he will be sharing a few of those thoughts also. So you can see that there is a huge potential for us. And it's not only that there's a potential, it's also you are looking at and entering into an area, working in an area which has got a long-lasting repute. And let me congratulate the winners, but the winners are only to mark the small difference between the others. All the 89 of you are winners because you have made the change in the life of people. Improve it further. Wish you all the very best. And thank you to Rajagiri Media. Rajagiri is actually synonym of quality education in Kerala. And Rajagiri Media is actually taken to the next level. Thank you, Professor Varghese, for that. And thank you for involving Kerala Startup Mission in this whole journey. We are very privileged to be a part of this and wish all the very best to the event and all the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saji Gopinath, for that insightful talk on what makes startups succeed. Next, we have an eminent person, Mr. Ravindranath Kamath, co-founder and CFO, Next Education, to address us. He has varied experience in technology roles and presently heads a firm that helps companies manage all school operations digitally. He will deliver a talk on the topic, Prospects of Educational Startups in India. Over to Mr. Kamath.
Can you hear me? All right. Very good morning, all of you, Dr. Varghese, Saji sir, and everyone else. Firstly, my respects to all the gurus that have made who I am. And I would like to congratulate all the startups that have ventured, taken the risk and tried to make education a better, to deliver a better education to all. And I would like to thank Dr. Varghese for inviting me to have this time. I'll go straight to the point, right? And I'll probably slightly differ and agree with what Dr. Saji was saying. So we are talking about education and startups, right? So there is a problem here, right? There is a fundamental problem, which is anathema to profit in education, right? So I presume most of the startups are actually trying to build businesses which are for profit, right? But typically we say, okay, look, education is a noble cause. It is, right? No doubt about it. But for whatever reason, regulatory or historic reasons, profit making is not allowed. So I think that is probably where, as a fundamental structure, we have to look at. And again, it's not in our hands, not in the startup's hand, but as a policy, probably we have to look at it. The second aspect, which I would like to address, right, because we have only a few minutes. If you look at education, ultimately it still remains a long-term in nature. You look at maybe 200 years back when the British had rule across the world. Probably the average life of a sailor is probably 40 years. So there was no room for studies for, studying for 15 years, 20 years. There was no room, right? So now you look at the life expectancy and you look at it as a, I'm saying slightly more like a cliche, right? What is the return on investment on the education? So we spend 20 years. Is that giving you enough return for the next 40 years?
Maybe
Right?
Mr. Kamath, you have to hold the mic in your hand.
All right. Okay. So so you look at education also in the capitalistic context, right? You have certain investment being done in money and time, and you look at what is the kind of return you can get, right? So it still remains a long-term activity. And when you look, when I look at startups and my own story, right? I think the time that we expected that things will change has always been far, far below what actually turned out to be, right? Uh, if you look at a simple educational product, right? Let's say I'm in the K-12 domain. So let us say you decide to make a course. It will take a year for you to make the course, another year to convince a school to adopt it, assuming you're talking to a school as a customer. It will probably take you 2 years for you to actually see the result. Yeah, you will get the early feedback, but it takes you a long time. So my suggestion to startups in education will be, you have to think definitely long term. There are possibilities of short term responses, but I think far more and more, like Dr. Saji was saying, education is a long term activity, and unless you have that long term vision, right, I don't think you will achieve the ultimate goal. Again, I may be slightly more um, altruistic in this, right? So incidentally, I was last week I was talking to somebody in the financial markets, saying what's happening in education, right, and edtech. So he had a very interesting viewpoint. So he says, look, education and edtech is always going to be under pressure on for two things. It basically attracts quality talent, right? Uh, you will always find people who are well educated, who have a better view of life, investing into it and coming into it, right? And then there is a lot of money chasing it. So it is very difficult for you to succeed unless you have a mix of both. So just two more aspects I would cover, and then I will leave to you. The prospect of a particular education startup looks at, so you have to look at what is the value that you're delivering, right? And fundamentally, if you're a ed tech, most of you would be, I think, technology oriented startups, right? Technology fundamentally has to be deflationary. If you can't do that, I think we have lost the plot. Second, you have a very challenging situation on the other side. If you look at teachers, if you look at India and the K-12, especially K-12, right? You would find that more than half of the kids actually go to a private school. Whereas if you look at the income levels, probably less than 5% pay income taxes, which is entry level, which is 20,000 rupees, right? It used to be, and now I think it's much higher. So the value of a particular product or service that you offer, the moment you want to scale beyond the 1%, 2% of Indian community which can afford anything, the price is going to be a challenge. So whatever you build, you have to decide whether you want to target the top 5% or the 50%. This is very important, and this is what we see across, right? If you want to scale, use technology, bring in the deflation, but make sure you have the ability to scale and have the staying power for long term. And especially if you look at China as an example, there are probably 3 companies which have $10 billion plus valuations, right? One focuses on teaching English. The second one teaches basically in K-12, like what Byju's is today. The third one is in entrance prep, right? The UPSC equivalent of the world. So if you focus, if you choose a particular sector, you decide what to address, have a long-term vision and the patient capital, and bring in technology to do the personalization and bring the deflation, I think you have a winning formula. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ravindranath Kamath, for that positive outlook on edu startups. Next, we have a talk by Mr. Arjun Mohan, CEO of Grad. He has varied experience in sales, marketing, and product development in fashion, edtech, automotive, electronics, and reality sector. He was also the former Chief Business Officer of Byju's. He will talk on internationalization of Indian educational startups. Over to Mr. Arjun Mohan.
Hi, good morning and happy Teachers Day. I have my teacher also in the audience. So, sir, Saji sir, happy Teachers Day to you. Yeah, and thank you so much for turning up on this Saturday morning. We'll try to keep it short. We'll try to keep it exciting. This is EdTech, at least it has been one of the sectors, fortunately or unfortunately, which is has got a lot of benefit due to the COVID segment and due to the COVID disaster. So before I start, just want to give you a brief about me. As the compere just said, I started my EdTech journey with Byju's. You can say that I'm a veteran in India EdTech. Before even the term EdTech became popular, I've been doing EdTech. So since 2007, when Byju's was a coaching class, we have been working on this. Started with test prep, moved on to K-12, did early learning, and now I'm with Upgrad doing working professionals, upskilling the market post K-12. So pretty much I have touched every aspect of it. So I can at least to some extent claim that I know a bit of it, which is what I will try to do in the next 5-10 minutes. Yeah, so the topic is internationalization. I think there has been no better time for Indian edtechs to go out and capture the market internationally than today. What's happening world over is that it's no longer it's no longer about those large infrastructure you need to bring out. Last few months have forced people to start accepting consuming learning online and trying to say that this is as good as going to a campus and doing it. I mean, this is the times are unprecedented, right? Harvard just onboarded their smallest cohort ever, maybe in last 100 years. I mean, so what I am seeing in last few months is that people, at least the number of people who are open to looking at online education, be it in the K-12 space or the working professional space, or especially in the early learn space, because you don't have a choice, the kids are all home, have almost become 10x. Still, there are challenges involved. If you ask me what is the spend they will do on consuming a product online, still there are challenges. The COVID has ensured that uncertainty prevails, the sales cycles are longer. But good part is that there is a widespread acceptance. So what smart edtech companies are doing is we are all trying to take the advantage of it. With a great product, you're going to the customers and telling them that, why don't you sample it out? Maybe take it for free, figure it out with the absolute confidence that the product is so good that next time when they're thinking about doing learning or education, they will look at online and offline in the same way. So that's what is happening at a global level. Second trend which is emerging is that because everything is online, the geographic boundaries are not applicable. I can go out and sell anywhere and everywhere. In fact, if I take the case of Upgrad itself, our international business have almost tripled in last 3 months. And this is also because of a new group of people from these advanced markets like the US, the Western Europe, Middle East, Africa, coming out online looking for quality education at the same time at a very, very competitive prices. So no longer is people saying that I will do an MBA spending $200,000. They really want to do an MBA trying to spend less than $15,000. And the economy has also changed, right? There are a lot of people in this middle class and lower middle class who are forced to upskill because they are losing jobs. It's no longer the same. So what I'm observing is that, especially in the Western markets and Western Europe, US, and to some extent the middle markets, Middle East, Southeast Asia and all, there is now a group of customers who is behaving in a similar way like an Indian value customer behaves. And this opens up humongous amount of opportunities for Indian edtech. because there's nobody who can deliver this quality at the price we are doing. Nowhere in the world you can do it. Chinese can compete, but Chinese, the English aspect of Chinese, they can't do the way we are doing it. So what I'm seeing is that everyone is growing in there. You take early learn stage, like what White Hat Junior is trying to do. White Hat claims that 60% of their revenue from the last 4 months had come outside India. And they're teaching coding, something which US and the Western world is known really for. Our case, I already told you. Multiple other companies in the working professionals are seeing the same thing. So my only point of view to all the entrepreneurs who are looking out will be that currently the situation is that you don't really need to think too much about being in India or being in a specific market for you. Rather than a geographical demarcation of the customers, you should really look at a value perception based demarcation of the customer. Is it a SECB or an SECB plus customer who is sitting anywhere in the world who can consume my services? Finally, that is what it is. One more, and a very important thing is that in our country, at least, the most celebrated startups are the ones who get most valuation. It is finally not about revenue or profitability or anything, right? It is unfortunate. I am seeing that changing also. But in the new world, what will be important is to build out a business which feeds into itself. And it is really possible in EdTech. You really don't have too much of infrastructure investment. You really have a very, very large market to play with. So you can invest in sales and marketing, and you have an opportunity which nobody else have. So what I would suggest is if you are an entrepreneur who is really looking at EdTech in a big way, number one, look at global. Don't get yourself confined to any geographical boundaries. Number two, from the way go, keep a very good, at least track on your cost structure. In the future, it is the P&L which matters more than the GMV factors which everyone has been talking about. I don't really need to tell you, you all know what is happening around you, and it's going to be more and more serious. Funding will be tough, but always good companies will keep getting funding. You can see large scale consolidation coming in there. So these are the broad contours which I am seeing. One more example which you can go out and check is this company called Springboard. So Springboard is always, if you go to the West Coast in Valley and all, that's the most hottest company in EdTech today. They do programming, they do a lot of boot camps. Before COVID, they were really popular. A lot of people thought that it's a West Coast company, but the founders are based out of, are Indians. It's an Indian company. Their office is in Bangalore. So that's how the world is moving to. And that's, I would say, are few of the things you should remember. I don't have much to speak about. If there are one or two questions from the audience, I can take that. Vagi sir, I'll have time, right? Another 2 minutes.
I think it is over. Maybe I would suggest that we make a roundtable over the same theme.
Yeah.
On another occasion, so that we could speak in advance,
Sure. Perfect. We'll do that, sir. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. That is a quick bite from me. Thanks for the time, and thanks for turning up on a Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you, Mr. Arjun Mohan, for that global view of EdTech sector. Next, we have a jury note and address, Mr. Rahul Saur, Regional Head South, Wadhwani Foundation. He has been involved with strategic business consulting, heading major roles in telecom, retail, and web-enabled services. Currently, he is heading a mission which is very important for Indian economy, driving large-scale job creation. He will deliver a talk on profile of education startups in India. Over to Mr. Rahul Saur.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to thank Kerala Startup Mission for inviting me to the jury panel for the Palikutam National Awards for EdTech Startup. Building a good EdTech solution that can attract students, keep them continuously engaged is not really easy. It requires a good mix of engaging content, good UI, UX, a healthy mix of interaction with teachers, experts, etc. So it's a tough ask. Just the technology is absolutely not sufficient for you to have a viable product. So we at Wadhwani Foundation have also embarked on this same journey. We are trying to create a digital platform to help educate startups and SMEs with best practices and help them grow and scale. So, I could really relate to the applications that came in. So it was really refreshing to actually see the kind of applications that came in from all over India. So I think we got applications from 36 cities and 14 states. And the solutions also were very varied. We had solutions for marketplaces, platforms, management solutions, content for different audiences and genres. I particularly like that, many applicants had identified lacunae in the current system, and they had provided some innovative solutions in areas such as, soft skill development, industry linkages, and creating early interest in fields like AI and ML and even music. There was a case where we had someone who had come up with a tech solution to promote music. So that's amazing. So we're really pleased to see so many applications coming in from all varied kind of ideas that came in. We are also pleased to see a lot of applications that came in where it was primarily very inclusive in the way the technology was developed. So to ensure that there's a wider reach across all economic strata and all modes of access. So that I think when you have that kind of thinking into building your product, by itself you're making sure that your product is available on different forms of access and media. So that was great. On the other hand, we also saw some very specific solutions for underserved market needs, such as there was one where there was a solution for children with learning disabilities. So very heartening to see a wide range and a good mix of all kinds of applications that came in. So congratulations to each and every one of the applications. The jury really enjoyed going through each and every one of these applications and learning about your business models. Kerala Startup Mission actually had put together a very good format to ensure the sufficient amount of information is available to the jurors to make sure that they can make a good decision in deciding which were the the winners for this awards. And I really thank all the participants, all the applicants who had put in the effort and put in all the details that was required in terms of what was asked for us to be able to evaluate your solution. It was difficult, very difficult task for us to rate and rank so many good applications. But however, ultimately the ones that had put together a very coherent and comprehensive business plan are the ones who actually surfaced to the top. An innovative idea or cutting edge technology by itself will not translate into a good business model. It will have very little chance of success unless you clearly identify, what is the need in the market, who is your target market, and you package your entire solution to be very appealing to the intended customer. So ultimately the winners today, if you look at it, they had a couple of things in common. So they had a very good understanding of the target market, very well-defined product offering, and a very good go-to-market strategy. And then finally, last but not the least, the experience and capable leadership team is, what we also look at, because ultimately they are the ones who are able to take it out to the market and make a success out of it. So a few of the other things that I'd just like to mention, at least, the things that I look at when I evaluate these business plans is there a very structured and scalable business model? Dr. Saji also mentioned scalability. I think that's most important because we are leveraging technology to be able to significantly amplify what you can do and what is not possible in an offline mode. So, have you kind of thought about that and built that into your product? That's important. The quality of content, of course, because at the end of the day, if the content is not good, or the faculty or the teachers who are part of this whole solution is not good enough, then that kind of takes away from the entire solution that you're offering. We saw a lot of applicants who had given good idea of what the traction is so far, given names of marquee customers, testimonials. I think all that helps to build the case that these guys really have a good product. And finally, clear revenue model and financial projections. Many of the winners had provided that, and that gave us a good idea of what has been done so far and what is the plan for the future, and they were very realistic, so it made a lot of sense. But I must say, on the flip side, we saw some amazing ideas, but they lacked a well thought out business model around it. I would really urge all of the applicants to introspect on your offering. Identify a USP, identify your ideal customers. Ensure that you have a really good go-to-market strategy, and that will really maximize your chances of success in your venture. Because you may have a very good technology, but if you've not built a good business model around it, right there you're going to have challenges. So there are many organizations who can help you. Don't think you have to do it yourself. I mean, Vadvani Foundation, we help a lot of startups and SMEs with this. Kerala Startup Mission also does a lot of this. They help startups, put together a very coherent business plan, identify, where the gaps are, and so on. So please feel free to reach out to, any of these organizations who can help you out. At the end of the day, we want to see you succeed. So that's all basically I had. I will wrap up. Very good luck to all the applicants and congratulations to the winners. Once again, thank you, Dr. Saji Gopinath and the entire Kerala Startup team and Rajgiri Media. So, it was great. Thank you for that opportunity. I just enjoyed going through each and every one of these 89 cases. And again, good luck for this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rahul Saur. Now we move on to the felicitations. Mrs. Asta Grover, Head Startup India Hub, Government of India. She brings with a decade of experience in strategic consulting, retail banking, and helping startups grow in present position. On behalf of Rajgiri Media, I take privilege of welcoming her to address the audience. Mrs. Asta Grover, please.
Good morning, senior leaders, esteemed jury, and startups. I hope you're staying safe, healthy, and maintaining good spirits in this new normal we're trying to come to terms with. The phrase new normal has become very common in recent times and is being used quite literally by different sectors which are claiming to make this valuable contribution in building it. Among these, I personally feel education is that one sector which has shown exceptional innovation and agility in these unprecedented times. The ongoing pandemic has compelled the education sector to make adaptive innovation way ahead of its time. And I'm happy to say that our Indian startups have truly risen to the occasion. I mean, who would have thought my 2.5-year-old daughter would enjoy taking her online classes? My friend, who is a teacher, has found new ways to project her notes on screen and has found new geographies to teach too. There have been some never seen before technological leverages such as use of AI to customize learning experience for students, development of new application based in certain niche like coding, or finding new capacity buildings on digital tools used for teaching population, among others. Education is a crucial pillar of our economy, and despite the current adverse situation, the sector has managed to reinvent itself to retain its relevance. I would like to laud KSOM for recognizing this and hosting the Palikutam National Awards for Startups in Education. All the nominated and winning startups have my appreciation for doing great work in the field. I hope the innovations highlighted in this award ceremony inspire ideas in more entrepreneurs and provide encouragement to bring them to life. Lastly, while we celebrate the success of the winning startups today, we should not forget that there is still a long road ahead for the education sector. The online versus offline debate ignited in light of the current pandemic has made a large proportion of India's school-going population vulnerable to dropping out. This is a very real threat which needs to be addressed urgently. Our immediate and clear goal is last-mile delivery of education to every child of school-going age in India. Formidable as this challenge is, I'm confident in the capability of our startups and look forward to seeing you conquer it and set new precedents. Once again, wishing everyone a hearty congratulations on being a part of this event today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Asta Grover. We are thankful to South Indian Bank CSR initiative for supporting this idea of honoring startups. We have Mr. Raphael TJ, Chief General Manager and Chief Information Officer, to offer felicitations.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. The CSR team of South Indian Bank, headed by our MD and CEO, Mr. VG Matthew. We are delighted to be a sponsor of this wonderful initiative. And I would say there are two reasons why we wanted to associate with this. One is that, our CSR money we normally spend on mostly on education, sports, health, and financial inclusion. And the only exception may be the public utility, where we are spending 5.5 crores on the Vadakechara Thrissur bus stand, which is being renovated with a CSR fund, the first of its kind in India, which will be inaugurated in the coming Wednesday on 9th September at 10:30 by Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan. That is the only exception. Otherwise, we spend most of our money on education. And we have got a meaningful scheme for economically backward children of Kerala, where from every district of Kerala, 14 districts, we have selected 5 students each. The criteria is that they should complete their +2 in government schools, and their total annual income should be less than 1 lakh of their parent. So we selected such 200 plus students, and in different 4 editions. And we are sponsoring their entire education, undergraduate fees, plus 4,000 rupees out of pocket expenses every month till they complete their course. That includes even some of the MBBS and the BDS students. So we spend a lot on education from our CSR fund. That is one reason. The second reason is, of course, as Professor Verghese Pandilukaran has already mentioned, we are one of the pioneers in the technology banking area. And in 2015 itself, we launched, when we launched our mobile application Mirror, we had augmented reality to locate branches and ATMs. And at that point of time, I don't think even many of the banks in India had even a mobile app. So these are the 2 reasons. One is that our spend on education. Second is our focus on technology, which gave a lot of enthusiasm for us to join with the Rajagiri Media in sponsoring this initiative. I'm sure, as everyone mentioned, and it's a good learning experience, listening to all of you, what is happening in the educational startup. And I was, when Mr. Kamath was mentioning about the long term, I was reminded of my father, who learned computer at the age of 73, learned email at the age of 75, and at the age of 85, he cannot sit idle without sending at least 10 emails a day after studying Bhagavad Gita, Quran, and all. So great learning experience. I would say this is a great initiative by Rajagiri Media. And I look forward to the intellectually stimulating out-of-box ideas that is coming up in the winners, which they are going to present. I congratulate all the winners and wish every success for this program. Already 89 applications from 14 states is, I would say it's a huge success, and we should continue this exercise every year so that we get more and more ideas. Wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rafael TJ. Rajagiri Media has been around for the past 8 years since the publication of the flagship Pallikudam magazine. But what does it stand for, and what are its major activities? Let's see a short presentation.
Pallikudam stands for an inclusive, secular, progressive and scientific education legacy of India, dating back to the times of Sri Buddha. The word Pallikudam derived from Pali language, the language of Sri Buddha, from the roots Pali, Buddhist monasteries, and Kudam, something attached to those monasteries, namely schools. All the important international universities of ancient India, including Nalanda, Takshashila, Vikramashila, Jagadala, Vallabhi, and Pushpagiri, belong to the stream of Pallikudams. Following this educational tradition in the South Indian languages, for example, in Tamil and Malayalam, the word Pallikudam just means school. Rajagiri Media Trust is committed to revive, preserve, and further develop the legacy of Pallikudams in India. It has already developed a good number of products and services to serve this purpose. Started in 2013, Pallikudam, the Education Observer, serves the information and insight requirements of the stakeholders of education, especially parents, teachers, and students. Pallikudam Education Portal, www.pallikudam.com, is designed as a one-point destination for all educational needs. Pallikudam Smart Boards are designed to provide weekly research-based updates for all stakeholders of education. The 6 such weeklies in this series are Smart Teachers, Smart Parents, Smart Students, Smart Edu Leadership, Smart Edu Policy, and Smart Edu Services. Pallikudam online schools provide exciting learning activities based on a unique and futuristic pedagogy called Pallikudam Pedagogy, aligned with the national curriculum framework developed by NCERT. There are 4 online schools as of now, namely Playmate for preschoolers, Companion for junior schoolers from standard 1 till 5, Friend for senior schoolers from standard 5 to 10, and Mentor for pre-university students. They will soon come up with national level learning challenges on weekly basis in which all students of the nation could participate. Pallikudam Publications publishes Gen Next books for all the stakeholders of education. Pallikudam Projects attempt to creatively solve the problems affecting students of the nation and to support their integral development. Rajagiri Roundtable is a monthly conference to accompany the development of policies in education and to synergize policy discussions into policy recommendations. Finally, Pallikudam Awards are meant for identify and honor achievements of different stakeholders of education in bringing about excellence in education.
Now we are moving to the most important part of the program, and the moment we have been waiting for has arrived. Without much delay, we are going to declare the winners of Pallikudam National Awards for Startups in Education 2020. We once again gratefully thank our collaborators, Kerala Startup Mission, and sponsor South Indian Bank Limited. We have a total prize money of 1,75,000 rupees, Golden Award rupees 1 lakh, Silver Award rupees 50,000, and Bronze rupees 25,000.
Pallikudam National Awards for Startups in Education is instituted with the objective of recognizing educational startups engaged in bringing about disruptive and frugal innovations in education, especially during the COVID-19 crisis. Pallikudam National Award for Startups in Education 2020 is promoted by Kerala Startup Mission and sponsored by South Indian Bank Limited. Now, let's move on to the award declaration ceremony.
Your habits make you. Habits influence success, whether you are in your first job or you're leading a team. At Harappa, we believe that good habits make great careers, and we believe in that strongly. Essentially, habits are repeated behaviors that require little or no thought. They are learned, not innate. We have identified 5 habits most critical to professional success. These are the Harappa habits of think, solve, communicate, collaborate, and lead. These habits help you hone your judgment and your decision making, as well as your ability to communicate, work with, and lead others. Together, they provide the core skills and a foundational toolkit for professional growth.
Golden Award of Pallikudam National Awards for Startups in Education 2020 goes to Harappa Education Private Limited, New Delhi, India.
What is Scoopin? Right. It's a good question, which I keep answering almost every day to many people. The first and foremost disclaimer from my side to the entire world is Scoopin is not a training company. Scoopin is a technology company. Yeah, makes sense, yeah. Right? So we are here to solve the problem that is faced by the training industry. So training is the domain that Scoopin has taken up to resolve the issues for. Technology is the means to resolve that issue. Okay. So In one sentence, we define ourselves as world's first on-demand managed marketplace.
World's first on-demand managed marketplace. Wow.
Silver Award of Pallikudam National Awards for Startups in Education 2020 goes to Stellaris EdTech Solutions Private Limited, Kochi, India. Bronze Award of Pallikudam National Awards for Startups in Education 2020 goes to Kids Byte Media Tech Private Limited, Mumbai, India.
Now I invite the representative of the Golden Award winner, Harappa Education Private Limited, New Delhi, India.
Okay, hi, this is Shreyasi. I'm the founder and CEO of Harappa Education. Thank you very much for the honor and the award.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I invite the representative of the Silver Award winner, Stellaris EdTech Solutions Private Limited, Kochi, India.
Hi, this is Rakesh, founder of Stellaris. I'm joined with my partner, co-founder Girish also. And thank you so much for the award. It means a lot, especially in the current times. And let me just kind of put all my gratitude, not just to the teachers and trainers also of the world, but also the ecosystem, which is developing so fast, especially the Rajagiri Media and Kerala Startup Mission, who I have been associated for last, a couple of years. Every single step that you people take for us, it makes a lot of sense. And thank you so much for, such a fantastic event that is hosted and boosts us a lot. And also all our fellow, startups equally well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite the representative of the Bronze Award winner, Kids Byte Media Tech Private Limited, Mumbai.
Hello, everyone. This is Chetan D'Souza, founder at Kids Byte. Thank you very much, Rajagiri Media, for this honor. Thank you, South Indian Bank, for sponsoring this. I think while there are so many companies out here which are focusing on learning for students, we are very uniquely positioned as a knowledge platform for students, trying to empower them and trying and giving them a voice to express themselves through our own exclusive news channel for students, by students. I think that is something that has really worked for us. And in this whole environment, when we talk about, fake news and mindless sharing of forwards that is happening with us, I think this is helping children become more conscious in terms of understanding fake from real and trying and differentiating the two. So thank you very much for this honor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. I thank all the participants for making this program a grand success. Now let's rise for the national anthem.